and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Today, hey, Dan, guess what? AOC is outraged again.
What?
By the Democratic Party. I know. So apparently, again, there was a very important election. It's too close to call. We probably might find out the results maybe even after the show was this key election. But let's actually pull this little tweet up right here. AOC, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on the day of a mass shooting and weeks after news of Roe v. Wade, of course, what's happening with the Democratic Party. The Democrats never codified Roe v. Wade. The Democratic Party leadership rallied around pro-NRA anti-choice incumbent under investigation in a close primary. Robocalls, fundraisers, all of it. Accountability isn't partisan. This is an utter failure of leadership. So what is she talking about?
By the way, can I just point out the irony that this is like one of the most forceful things she said against the Democratic Party in since a year after she got into office?
I'm glad that you said that, but you want to know another side to that too, Daniel? It's just a tweet, and it means nothing.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like she's like, "Oh, look at this! I did it! I jumped."
That's a jump.
That.
You don't know what it is? Hey, look! I opened a door.
No, it's not even. I think opening a door is too strong of a feat. I think this is like, I walked towards the door.
How about this? Pointing a finger. Is that a door?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So AOC all of a sudden can identify doors. Just can't open them, can't get through them, can't move things through them, can't do logistics with them, doesn't know how to build them, doesn't know what they're made of, doesn't know how the hinges work, doesn't understand the mechanism that allows them to open and close and stay shut, but she can see them now.
Mm-hmm. So what are we talking about? Well, in the wake of a horrific massacre that took place at Robert Elementary School, we'll be talking about that on the Rockfin portion of the show. In Texas on Tuesday, Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez blasted her party's leadership for supporting an incumbent in a state whose record and policy positions earned him an A rating from the National Rifle Association. On the day of a mass shooting, weeks after news the Supreme Court's impending decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, Democratic Party leadership rallied for a pro-NRA anti-choice incumbent investigation in a close primary, robocalls, fundraisers, all of it. The New York Democrat was referring to Representative Henry Cuellar, a Democrat from Texas, who's campaigned for a 10th term. 10th term. There should be term limits. Anyways, that's a different conversation. In the United States House was boosted by Speaker Nancy, Majority Leader Sten Hurley, and Majority Whip Jim Clyburn. So accountability isn't partisan, she added. This was an utter failure of leadership. Congress should not be an incumbent protection racket, and sadly it is treated as such by far too many. The fact is, those who fail their communities deserve to lose. They don't need rescuing from powerful leaders who state they fight for gun safety, the right to choose, and more. So there we go.
See, here's the thing. The Democratic Party doesn't care if you have diabetes as long as you're drinking their version of cola. And that's what this is. This goes. They're like, oh my God, we have to do whatever Manchin says, because if we don't, he'll become a Republican. Instead, he is a Republican in most votership. Ironically, not the most Republican in the Democratic Party. So we have to do whatever he says so we don't lose him, so the same effect can be. So it's like they just care about the branding. And so again, it's like with this. This is what we talk about, that the Republican and Democrats are a joint parent household that abuses their kid, one physically, one mentally, both combined making it worse than they would be individually. And there are still Democrats out there who still think they're on the right side, thinking that there is a right side to be on between those two parties, when the reality is it's just a branding war for the exact same donors. Oh, I want to be, it's literally, hey, we have the exact same economic point of view, but slightly different and closing together social points. And I also want to remind people that if Reagan, under his exact policies he ran on, the Republican darling, ran today, the Democrats would call him a communist. That's how far we've gone. This is the lesser of two evil strategy working out. You know what lesser of two evil does? It adds up over time like a student loan interest. You end up with something far worse at the end of the day by voting lesser of two evil. Because it's everyone, they just look ahead and they're like, oh, incremental. Oh, AOC is great. Doesn't care about her voting record. Doesn't care that she's done this. She has tweets that I like. That's really cool. I vote for those tweets. Yeah, I vote for Nancy Pelosi. She's a good leader, even though she's corrupt. She makes all the money for herself. She thinks she's a great marketing genius. When she's just an old, dying woman who makes a lot of money at the cost of the American people. Because everyone everyone that you can vote for in the federal level now is the same. And the only thing they have going is long-term branding stuck in people's heads.
So I want everyone to know that, again, votes are still being tallied in. As it stands, the challenger to Henry Cuellar, Jessica Cisneros, he's right now in the lead by, I believe, at least 156, 180 votes right now.
Super close.
It's very close. It's a tight race. So, I mean, but
congratulations, Democrat. Instead of a super pro-gun, anti-choice Republican, we're getting in a pro-gun, anti-choice Democrat. Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
So the thing is, what's happening with this, especially with this election, because Jessica was endorsed by Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren. The race is extremely tight. But what I find interesting, though, is AOC is doing this outrage, which it's starting to get tiresome. It really is, because at this point, I could go back to the times when we were on radio, when we were at the first studio, and then when we were at the studio at Lawrence and Kimball. How many times have I interviewed progressive, independent candidates that were running in the Democratic Party? And you want to know what the same thing that they were telling me? That the DCCC was doing everything they can to put roadblocks to their campaign to make sure that they would not be on the ballot, to make sure that they would not be able to debate the incumbent. I mean, AOC, you went through it yourself, and you are surprised now? Where was this challenge at? I mean, at this point, AOC, stop with the outrage. Stop pretending to be stupid. Because if you want us to treat you like you're stupid, then we're going to treat you like you're stupid, AOC. We know what the Democratic Party is all about. Now, you and your fantastic friends in the Congressional Progressive Caucus have decided not to push back against Biden or Harris. You and your fantastic friends in the Congressional Progressive Caucus have chosen to turn a blind eye, willingly. You know, it wasn't on purpose. You willingly turn a blind eye to the fact that the Biden-Harris administration had never once followed through with any of their promises in the 2020 election cycle. You had a lot of opportunities to get things done in 2021. You could have done something for Force to Vote, March for Medicare for All, the General Strike Summit meeting, and so many other things. At this point, I could be repeating them over and over again. But now you are shocked that Nancy and the Democratic establishment leadership went and put their full support for an incumbent who's been in power for 10 terms, who's pro-gun, anti-choice, and all of that other stuff. At this point, the writing's on the wall. Break away from the Democratic Party and form your own independent party. That's if you have the courage. But obviously you don't, because when Nancy confronted you and wagged her finger and made you turn your no vote to a present vote when it came down to for voting for the Iron Dome, well then, hey, AOC, this is just fake outrage to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking like we could literally, this is all a great metaphor for healthcare in America. AOC gets a cough, doesn't do anything about it. Cough continues, doesn't do anything about it. Cough gets worse. Gets what's this? The vapor, Vicks Vape Rub or whatever.
Yeah, the Vicks Vape Rub. Yeah, that's what it is.
Puts it on. It doesn't do anything. Cough is getting really bad. Left lung is really starting to hurt from coughing. You've been doing it so long. Keeps going to work. Keeps maybe getting other people sick. Keeps going. Is told by someone you should really look at a doctor. Tell them that you don't have time for it and you'll get better. Continues. Someone says you really should look at a doctor. You don't have health care. If you don't go, so you find a clinic or something to go to. And that's when you learn that you have infectious pneumonia that when it was just a cough would have been no problem to treat. But because you let so many opportunities slip one after another, you're in a position now where you couldn't even afford the treatment if you wanted to. Now, the only exception to that statement is America can always afford the treatment if it wants to. We can always decide to move out of this spot that we've held where we're not going to do anything that useful. But our politicians are, they get the best healthcare. They don't really feel an urge to do that. They have a lot of donors that wouldn't like that.
Nope.
They don't have the urge to do minimum wage anymore because most of them were yelling at us for them going, no, I did it for $6. Even for inflation, that would mean like $25 an hour. We're watching nothing happen as America rots. And everyone in power still makes money, so they don't notice. And this whole system, which we've been talking about for years, is eventually going to have that pneumonia collapse. And what are they going to do when that happens? They're going to be dead because they're going to be old. And we're going to have to inherit the problem and fix it.
So, I want to acknowledge the chat here for a second. Marvin Vargas, AOC, acting on command. Lee Lewis Troy, actively obstructing change, which AOC, look, you could have done something with forced to vote. I mean, I have to bring it up here because it's pretty relevant. Forced to vote was a time where you could have held Nancy Pelosi accountable. But by you, AOC, voting for Speaker of the House, Nancy, making her Speaker of the House again, you basically gave your silent, obedient consent to allow her to continue on with her neoliberal policies. Hell, you keep calling her Mama Bear. What's going to happen for this midterm election cycle? What more will it take for people to wake up for the fact that the Democrats won't get anything done? Now, we're going to talk more about what happened in Texas on the other half hour of the show, but as a final note for the story, and I hope this enrages the Vote Blue No Matter Who crowd, your progressive Democrats, your Democratic Party as a whole, they will say things and be reactionary, and they expect us then to ride on that reactionary wave with them. I'm tired of being on that ride with them. Before anyone pushes back at me and says, well, it'll help the GOP, I know what to expect from the GOP. The Republican Party is a scumbag party too. But at this point, people need to start building movements outside of the two-party system and start building infrastructure and real change. If we don't do this, then we're going to get more of this. And I'm tired of these theatrics. AOC's actions are inexcusable.
And I'm also going to add into this that Democrats need to realize they're as responsible for Republicans as Republicans are for Democrats. I would say about 50-50.
Yep.
So it takes two parties to raise a kid, and they're continuously using them as forced labor.
There we go.